So I'll ask you this too. So what's your differentiator then in your line of work? Like what separates you from the pack? Because I I met you almost 4 years ago now.
That's it.
I think it's four. Yeah, I
Feels
think
like longer.
maybe longer. Um, what and you've experienced some exponential growth, and it is smart. You don't want to outgrow. You don't want to outgrow yourself. You want to be
Right.
able to grow at a steady pace, right? Because if you don't grow at your steady pace and hit your goals, then the quality of what you offer and the product is
Mhm.
going to go downhill, and then
Yeah.
you're going to be just another company out there that's giving, I don't know, subpar service,
Right.
right? So what is your differentiator? Why do people choose MCM over, let's say, other companies? Because you don't advertise conventionally, right?
At
Like you're
all.
at
No,
all.
we
I mean,
don't
it's all
advertise.
it's all word of mouth.
Right.
So why is it that someone comes to you and says, "Hey, we need Chris and his team to take care of everything"?
I think number one is the quality of service, is the attention to detail. We are big about communication with the clients. We kind of over communicate with the clients till they tell us to pull it down a little bit. But I think it's just going in there, being upfront and honest about what you're there to do, what service you can provide, coming to an agreement, and just sticking to it. And recognizing, I think another thing is important is recognizing that you don't know everything. I've learned so much from my clients. It's amazing because things that they've corrected me on helped us grow as a team because I've implemented those things and made sure that our team wasn't focused on those areas or failing in those areas as well. So we've learned a lot, and we receive a lot from the clients that who have an opportunity that we spend time with to share things with us. I have clients that fly in, and me and my brother will sit down with them, and he's a very big businessman in Alabama. And every time he's with us, all he wants to do is see us succeed. So
Mm,
he'll give us all these amazing nuggets, and we're sitting there taking notes like little kids
yeah.
in class. But it's very rare that you get that. So I think one of the defining things is that we care. I care a lot about the clients that I'm with. I do have a servant's heart and a servant's attitude. So therefore, I'm looking at it a different perspective. I report to God, not
Mm,
to them. And if everything that I'm doing is honoring God, then they're definitely going to be pleased by it because there's nothing bigger than greater than that.
yeah.
So I think a lot of things is just making sure that we're upfront and honest with our clients. Um, and the expectations that they are looking for are met and delivered when they request them. And if they're not, then communicating with them saying, "Hey, look, this didn't get done because of that." So, being humble, being transparent, being truthful, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I used to be afraid to call a client and say, "You got an AC leak and the floor's damaged. We haven't been here for a week, and when we left, it was fine, but now, we got $40,000 worth of damage."
Right.
Well, I used to hate that. Now I'm calling them right away. I don't even text or
But
email.
without you, it could have been a month,
That's right. Exactly.
like
Yeah.
thank God it was a week,
Yeah.
you know? Man. So, you mentioned God, like how important is it? How important is your relationship with God, and how does it affect like your business and how you operate and how you communicate not only with clients, but you also treat the employees that are under you?
Well, I think it's hugely important because, I am a faith person. I do believe in God. I do believe in Christianity and Christ, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. And I try my best, as human as I am, believe it or not,
I get it.
to follow the ways of Christ and implement those into our work without being evangelistic or legalistic.
Yeah.
And my purpose is just to be the light.
Yeah.
And when there's situations, and I mean, I've been in clients' homes where things are just going really crazy,
Yeah.
and if you're there being the light and you're there able to maybe speak some peace into that situation, I think that they see that you're generally genuine when you're there. You're not just there to collect a check.
Right.
It's one thing, we don't punch in and punch out a client's house. We interact with them. We had a perfect example is one of my associates, client just got out of the hospital. She was down, and he was there to do a laundry list of stuff, but he ended up just sitting on the couch with her for 2 hours,
Yeah.
Oh,
just talking,
yeah.
you know. And we have another client who's legally blind. So we cater to her and take care of her. And we went over there. She had a situation where they had a big issue with the AC people. The associate that was over that property, he went to bat and got helped her with her insurance claim.
Wow.
We went and got the AC company who failed to do their job properly that caused all the damage. He was fighting with them to get them to pay for the damages, which she won, and because of him, so it's not we're just there to, rake the leaves and leave, or do a job and get out of there. We're very intricately attached with our
Yeah.
clients, and I think that shows when you are light and there's a little bit of darkness in any area that we're positive all the time as best we can be, and we're also
It's hard to be
genuine.
positive in an attic in July
It
in South
is.
Florida,
It
man.
is. That's why we send other people up there.
That's right.
Yeah. There you go.
But I think this whole thing is just really about being true to yourself
Yeah.
and honoring your clients, respecting their position, but also treating them like they're human. If we're putting them up on a pedestal, they don't like that.
Right.
A lot of the people we interact, I don't think there's anyone we serve or provide services for that wants us to bow down and worship them. They want us to come in, do our job to the best of our abilities. If we have questions, ask. Don't just not ask because we don't want to bother them. I have so many clients say, I never want to hear you say, I didn't want to bother you,
Mm.
because we're here to serve them. And if we're not asking questions for clarifying answers, then the job's not going to get done to their standards. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of things that I think, pride is a big thing. We talked about that on the first episode, just being humble and being able to, you talked a lot about, taking that criticism and saying, okay, how am I going to get better? And then
Mhm.
that makes it better for the next client. It makes it
Right.
better for the same client. But I heard you talk a lot about just like that culture of who you guys are and what you're doing. How did you create that culture within your staff and within your business? And did that take a long time or was it pretty, fast or?
It's still ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, we every Monday we have a meeting. I have my topics that I want to discuss and that I want to go over based on our previous week's reports, and then I open the floor. And sometimes they'll say, "Hey, Christopher, I need to talk to you, but I need to talk to you after the
Mhm.
conference call because it's a personal issue." But I'm also very open to my guys. Like I went sideways on a couple of guys a couple weeks ago because whatever something they did just didn't jive right, and I hung up on them. I was extremely rude. But the next morning in that conference call, I publicly apologized to them. And
Mhm.
then I had a call with them and I explained why I got to that level and I apologized for being there. And I'm just as human as they are,
Mhm.
and our clients are just as human as us. So we're not alleviating the fact that we're all human and that we all,
Yeah.
feel, we all hurt sometimes, and sometimes we just don't want to be at work. So it's understanding each individual that works for us and that represents MCM and recognizing their needs and meeting their needs. And sometimes it requires just taking them out to tea. Sometimes it requires just hanging out. I say tea because we have a British guy.
Yeah. Tea time.
Yep. And then other times it's just recognizing them and saying, "Hey, you did a great job. I looked at the report last week. I didn't say it then, but you really did a good job." Or even just a thumbs up saying, "Hey, great job this week. Appreciate your efforts at client so and so, and what you did over there was really awesome. I like how you turned that situation around
Yeah.
and made it work."
Mhm.
So that's really important to not only lift them up but educate them, interact with them, understand what's going on in their family lives because that pours into to work life balance. So that's what I think really maintains the culture. They understand MCM, they know where MCM started and how we grew and how we developed and how we are growing. And I'm never ashamed to tell them, "Hey, look, I spent a whole day prospecting. And the reason I'm prospecting is because I want everyone to succeed.
Mm.
More clients Christopher brings in, more clients all the associates get, and that, all that wealth is shared with everybody. So not only do we lift ourselves up and we want to exceed, but we want everyone on our team to equally exceed as much as they want to.
Yeah.
Some people are fine right here at 20 hours a week. Some people are fine at 40. Others want 60 or 70. So understanding where everybody's at on your team and interacting with them is really what's important too. Like we're doing right now. Sit
Yeah.
down, talking, how's everything going, and
Yeah.
seeing what's happening.
I think it's great to have a culture that's it seems like you have an open door policy in your culture.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. One of the things that and probably a lot of people are gonna hate me for this, but I had a really bad experience when it came to chain of command in the military. And I always swore to myself if I owned a business one day, I was gonna have an open door policy. and and maybe one day it's going to get too big, because I understand that you have a Fortune 500 company. You don't want somebody from the mailroom knocking on the CEO's door. Like, I get that, but while we're in the situation that we're in, and currently, I think having an open door policy is, I don't know, I think it's a huge plus,
Mhm.
because using chain of command, from my experience, it's like playing telephone. Like,
Mm,
by the time that my message gets to where it needs to go, it's completely distorted. It's
Mhm.
like it's no longer urgent
Right.
anymore. So, being able to have an open door policy, being able to share the floor and have employees share their concerns,
Mhm.
share their wins, and even share some losses, like, hey, we could have picked it up here a little bit better, I think really builds a stronger team.
Yeah.
It creates trust. People can be honest with each other, and they can fix a problem, I think, way quicker and move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Quicker.
Yeah. So